So, to start with, what are the official charts? First and foremost, they are the most trusted measure of popularity in music and entertainment. But what is it that actually makes them official? Well, we are governed and owned by the UK music industry. We're co-owned by the BPI. They're the trade body who look after the interests of record companies in the UK, and ERA as well. So they're the Entertainment Retailers Association. And all the rules that govern the charts are set and agreed in committee with the record companies, both major labels and independent. We've been tracking British music tastes since 1952. That was the year when the very first ever singles chart was published. And we've been the chosen charts of the BBC since the 1960s as well, through Radio 1, through Top of the Pops, Pick of the Pops on Radio 2. Um, and we are official because we are the most comprehensive research panel of its kind anywhere in the world. The official charts are, it's kind of like the census of pop music. It's a full market count. We count all the audio streams, all the video streams, every physical sale and download that happens in the UK each week. There's around 6,500 data providers, so data of stores, streaming platforms, digital outlets that feed their data in daily to us. So that's everyone from HMV on the high street, all the supermarkets, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, SoundCloud, Beatport, iTunes, thousands more, all the way down to sort of smallest independent record shops in your local town. And all that together, that captures around 99% of all music consumption that happens in the UK every single week. So it's the single deepest and most accurate picture available anywhere of how British music is consumed. So essentially, the official chart is what artists and managers and labels, that's the one they pay attention to. And when people talk about the charts, they're generally talking about the charts that we compile. And if you want to follow the charts, these are some of the places that you go. These are our kind of key touch points of the brand, if you like. On radio, Radio 1 is the exclusive broadcast home of the official singles chart. So every Friday, if you tune in from 4 o'clock, Jack Saunders counts down the top 40 on the official chart show. There's also a shorter show on a Sunday called the official chart First Look that offers the first glimpse at the midweeks after the first 48 hours of the week. And online, as well as being a data business ourselves, servicing the music industry, we're a media brand in our own right as well today. We're a digital publisher, so officialcharts.com, which I'm hopeful you'll have visited at some point. That's the only place that's owned by us, and it's the only place online that you can access the top 100 in full. And it's got the entire chart archive as well. So every chart that's ever been published, all the way back to 1952, is there available for you to search and fill your boots with. And we're on every social platform as well. Hopefully you're already following us, but if you're not, our handle is @officialchart. So give us a follow, and that's the easiest way to keep up to date on a daily basis with what's going on in the charts. And this is our family. As I say, we're co-owned by BPI and ERA. So within our family, we've got all these incredible music brands, from the Mercury's and the Brit Awards to Record Store Day and National Album Day. So you will very much see us involved in all of those events every single year, because they're our sister brands. And in terms of the chart landscape, we totally know that there's other charts that are available out there. It can be quite confusing, but all you need to know is that if you're tuning in on radio, Radio 1 is the home of the official chart. Commercial radio do have their own chart shows as well. There's one on Capital and Heart called Big Top 40. There is one called the Hits UK chart, if you listen to Hits Radio. Those ones aren't official. They're not affiliated with official charts in any way. Very different methodology. The Big Top 40, for example, is based on, we believe, on Apple data only. They do also include some airplay data from their own Capital network. But it's yeah, very different methodology. It's quite vague. It's not like a kind of full scientific measure of the entire market. They don't have physical sales in there, anything like that. So as you can imagine, the rankings are very different as a result. You'll definitely get different number ones on both those charts just because of the way they're compiled. And we know platforms as well, they have their own chart. So I'm sure you'll have seen the Spotify chart or the Apple Music chart. Again, they're not the official chart, because it's just obviously by their nature, it's only consumption via that one particular platform. However, data from those platforms does feed into the official chart. So there is a connection there. Yeah, that's the other charts covered off. But how is the official chart compiled in contrast? So we tried to boil it down into one slide for you. It does get a bit more complicated than this, but I think these are the main points that you need to know. This is a really simplified illustration. So the official chart every single day pulls in data from all these outlets that you can see on screen, and there's thousands more on top of that as well. But it's a really broad spread of all the places that people consume music. We take streaming data, both audio and video streams. We take physical sales and downloads, mash it all together, crunch it every day, and out pops a chart at the end of the week. So we know that a stream isn't the same as a sale. So we do apply a formula to account for that as well. And there's two types of streams that we recognize. There is premium stream and an ad-funded stream. So essentially what that means is if you pay for your streaming service, if you're, say, a Spotify premium subscriber, your streams are going to have more weight in the official chart. And we say that 100 premium streams is the same as one purchase or a download. If you are a free streaming subscriber, then it takes 600 of your streams to equate to one sale. So there's a slightly different weight in there. But yeah, before we get stuck into learning what it takes to crack the official chart, we thought it's worth playing devil's advocate and asking why. Why should anyone care about their chart position? What's in it? What does it mean? Yeah, why should I care? So we'll take you through that now. Firstly, for fans, um, chart is a really important gateway for discovery. We know that audiences come to official charts all with their eyes and ears open for brand new music. We run brand insight studies every couple of years, and the most recent one that we ran showed that 69% of people who follow the official chart say that charts are the number one means of music discovery for them. And that's league head and shoulders above the likes of radio or YouTube or TikTok. It's just a really handy filter. It's a shortcut. It helps audiences get up to speed on what's new, what's popular. And essentially to be across the official chart is to be across popular culture. And I love this quote that came in from one of our users during that brand insight study. We live in an age now where content that we see in our feeds every day is pretty much dictated by what an algorithm thinks we want to see or to hear. And obviously that can be really useful. It's really personalized, but it tends to give a quite skewed view of what's going on in the world. So what the official chart is, it kind of represents the antithesis of that. It's what people are actually listening to and buying. It's not about your personalized algorithm bubble. It's the complete opposite. It shows you the artists and the songs, the singles, the albums that are connecting with the British public at large. And those two things can be vastly different, can't they? And it's also a really important piece of British cultural history, whether there's the iconic Blur versus Oasis showdown that happened in the 90s, or my favourite Christmas number one battle of all time, the when Rage Against the Machine took on Simon Cowell and put an end to X Factor's domination of the festive charts. Or these are the more recent moments, like the first ever drill number one or Saltburn, when that sent Murder on the Dance Floor back into the charts. Last year, 20 years after its release, these things are all signs of the times. The charts are this constant in our cultural history. You can look at the chart from any given week, whether that's the Beatles back in the 1960s or Charlie XCX getting number one during Brat Summer last year. And the chart is it's like a powerful snapshot, isn't it? That tells us something about Britain at that moment in time. And there are nostalgia fix as well. You get a place in the official chart, and that's your place in history cemented. We know nearly half of our audience come to official charts for the chart rewind content that we do as well. So that's for fans. What's in it for artists? Well, for artists, the chart is the ultimate career springboard. Getting in the chart means you're probably going to be opening yourselves up to getting airplay. If you get a top 10 or a number one today, it means you're eligible for an official chart award. And that in itself is social content. It's videos, it's pictures of your chart success that you can share with fans, share with media. It just gives you that social proof of the sort of upward trajectory that you're clearly now on. Chart success as well, that's you can wrap that up and put it in as supporting credits into your next press release. And it just adds weight to your story, if you're pitching for playlist inclusions at streaming or on radio, or you're trying to get slots on a festival lineup, it just demonstrates that momentum that you're on. And you can use the claims to fame about your chart success to stick up your album covers or the ads that you might be running as well. So lots of different ways you can get the word out there about your success. And it's an amazing opportunity for fan engagement too. Public absolutely bloody love a chart battle, as do we. And fans just love it when you get creative and have a bit of fun with your campaigns. These just are just a couple of examples of artists who've done that in recent times. We've had promises from KSI and Sidemen that they'll go and shave their heads if their music gets to number one. We've had Tom Grennan back in December last year pledging to get a tattoo of the Christmas number one if he got there. That backfired on him spectacularly during Christmas number one week. But you know what? He went for it. He promised, and he's a good sport. So we can't take that away from him. So we actively encourage any capers of that sort. We will jump all over and egg you on with campaigns that of that nature. Um, and of course, there's an amazing PR opportunity as well with chart success. Media love to write about music trends and breakthroughs. And when you've got a story, an artist story, and it's backed up with trusted official chart data, it can get coverage over the line. It can clinch you that all important coverage that just takes you up a level in awareness. And for certain artists as well, it can also represent validation. So this was one of our most emotional number one award clips that we've probably ever published. I'm sure you're all familiar with Ray and her backstory. It's a unique one. Ray was plugging away for years and years with a career, but there were some differences in opinion about her career strategy, and she ended up actually parting ways with her label and chose to go it alone as an independent artist. And she got her first number one as a newly independent artist, so Escapism a couple of years ago, and she was really tearful. She got her number one award, and it was completely emotional, and yeah, a wonderful chart moment, and it set her on the course for the year that she had with the Mercury Prize nomination. She broke every Brit's record going as well. So yeah, these moments mean something to artists. But what does it take to crack the official chart today? Well, here's the numbers. Take note. If you want to get into the top 40 of the singles chart, these are 2024 numbers, by the way. So if you wanted to get into the top 40 of the singles chart last year, you would have needed around 1.7 million streams to get in there. The top 10 threshold was looking like just under 4 million. And the average number one last year was streamed nearly 8 million times. The albums market slightly different because it can fluctuate greatly from week to week, kind of depending on the release slate, really. But the average to get into the top 40 of the official albums chart last year was just shy of 3,000 units. To get into the top 10 of the albums chart, you'd be looking at around 6,000 sales for a top 10, and stream equivalent sales. And to get a number one would be around 38,000 for a number one. However, and this is a big however, if you're releasing the same week as Taylor Swift and you are targeting a number one at some future point in your career, then that number would be more like 270,000 that you would need to beat Swiftie. So moral of this story, or moral of this slide even, is choose your release week wisely.
Nobody beats Taylor Swift.
No. But the good news, so that's obviously the very top end of the market. I know some of you who'll be joining us tonight are kind of right at the start of your career, you're independent artist, or you're just looking to break into the music industry. So if you are starting out as an emerging artist, the good news is that there are stepping stones before the kind of numbers where you're having to rival Taylor Swift. So they come in the form of our specialist charts. We actually compile well over 50 charts every single week. Uh, from the likes of the dance chart, the rock chart, the classical chart. We do format charts as well for things like vinyl, streaming, and they're just great ways in, and they offer that sort of early stepping stone before you go on to mainstream success. So I've got a couple of examples that we've worked up for you. So this is the Afrobeats chart. Hopefully you've heard of it. So the Afrobeats chart is one of the, I'd say, the most successful new genre chart launches of this decade so far. This one it's a three-way partnership between official charts, One Extra, and Afro Nation. And to enter this week's Afrobeats chart, so this is the one that was published on Sunday, and you can see it live on the current chart page at the moment. You would have needed to have done, it's a top 20 chart as well, so you would have needed to have done around 700 copies to get into this week's Afrobeats chart. The track at number 20 this week is by Uncle Waffles. It's called Zenzeli. That track got into the top 20, obviously powered predominantly by streams. They had 81,000 streams and 7 downloads to get that top 20 placement. But getting that top 20 placement means they then get a radio play on One Extra. So there's the official UK Afrobeats chart show hosted by Eddie Caddy that broadcasts every Sunday. And yeah, top 20 placing gets you a play out on that show. If you were capable of doubling the sort of volume, so doing around 1,350 units or 173,000 streams as it was last week, that would have got you into the top 10 of the chart. And that then unlocks a whole new tier of promotion that you're entitled to at that point. So we run a weekly social activation wrapped around that chart. It's called the Afrobeats Top 10 in 60 Seconds. It's a video countdown of the top 10 from 10 to 1, and it runs across official charts, One Extra and Afro Nation, and Eddie Caddy's own social accounts. That's a combined reach of 2 million followers between all our brands. So some weeks of those episodes of the countdown can do 500,000 views just on Instagram alone. So that's a massive promotional opportunity, and just a really great way of driving discovery. So that's a really good target if you're an Afrobeats artist or releasing Afrobeats music. Or perhaps you're at the other side of the industry, really, and you've got the type of fan base who are particularly into physical music, and you might feel like you've got a really good chance at shifting some vinyl with your fans. So therefore, you could target some of the physical charts that we publish each week. Here's a couple of examples from this week's chart. So to be the UK's #1 vinyl single this week, you would have had to have sold actually less than 500 copies to get to #1 on the vinyl singles chart. Or on the record store chart to get into the top 20 of the record store chart, it's a partnership that we have with Record Store Day. It showcases the best sellers each week in UK independent record shops. And this week, with 180 copies, if you sold those through independent record shops, you would have been in the top 20 of the record store chart. So these numbers are completely achievable with the right campaign behind them. But you do have to be in it to win it, essentially, which is a really good moment to pass over to Chris, who is the king of the operations team, and he can talk you through exactly how to get yourself chart eligible. Over to you, Chris.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Lauren. So that really contextualizes who we are, why the charts are so important. And I think those last few slides are really super important just to emphasize that it's not all about getting #1 on the official singles chart that does take millions of streams, or indeed #1 on the albums chart that's tens of thousands of sales. There are places across all of the products that we create for artists, labels, genres of all scales, and it's about picking what you do. But for you as either artists, self-releasing artists, signed artists, maybe content owners, small record labels, what are the things that you need to do to ensure that you are making these thresholds and actually appearing in the charts? So I'm going to cover the charts, what's required to actually make your product eligible for the chart first of all, and then we've got a few tips and tricks and different levers that can be pulled to really to maximize the sales and streaming numbers that you're making. So first of all, product to appear in the chart needs to be registered with us. It's very straightforward. If we don't know the track or album exists, then it's not going to automatically be in the chart. There is a caveat to that, which is if you release music that suddenly blows up and would be in any of the top end national charts, so if you'd be in the top 200 singles or albums, we have a team of people that actually would be researching that and adding it themselves. We don't we never allow anything to be missing from the charts. But for it all to happen automatically without any issues, if you're going through a distributor and there are, I think there's about 45 that actually register with us directly, and that's everyone from Universal Music down to Ditto, Bandcamp, Idol, AWOL, a few of the examples on screen there. But if your music has been distributed by a distribution company, they will register it for you. There should be nothing that you need to do in order to do it. Um, However, if you are a self-releasing artist or a label self-releasing, self-distributing your product, it's really super easy. We have a portal that can where you can enter your product details yourself. All of the details for how to do that is on officialcharts.com. There's a B2B section at the bottom of all the pages. For any product to be eligible, if it's a track, then it needs to have an ISRC code. Sorry, I always say ISRC code, but the C stands for code, so it needs to have an ISRC. If you're not sure about those are available from PPL, free of charge. If you are releasing an album, it must have a barcode as an identifier. That allows traditional retail, D2C, whoever it is selling it, to actually register the sale and report it into the charts. Barcodes are available from GS1, or indeed, if you just Google search by barcode, there are tons of companies out there that will where you can buy barcodes from. And the persistent message you'll see across the slides that I'm presenting are that we have a team of people who are experts in the charts, chart rules, chart eligibility. We're not there for Universal Music, for Sony, for only for corporations. We're there to help everyone that could appear in any of the charts or wants to have their music registered and chart eligible. We're there to support you through that journey. So on all the slides I'm about to go through, you'll notice there's the chart rules at officialcharts.com email address that goes to all of my team, who are always around to answer any questions. And please do after this presentation as well, if there's any further take ups or any further questions that you want to know, please just get in touch. So the next part is meeting the official chart rules. I won't. We purposely didn't bore you with the full chart rules. There are 28 pages of them, and I know that because I wrote them. But they are equally available on officialcharts.com. Again, at the bottom of the page. If you enjoy that kind of thing, it makes for interesting bedtime. No, it doesn't. But if you do have access to them at any time, they're always public available. As Lauren mentioned before, we're very transparent as a company. Those rules are governed by the UK music industry, and we are again, the team at official chart rules at officialcharts.com are available to discuss any questions you might have, whether you've got any questions about the product you're releasing, the type of product, whether it is eligible or not. Really important, your product has to be sold through a chart reporting retailer. Selling it through a car boot sale or out the back of your van or anything else is clearly not. Any of those sales are not going to be chart reported. We do have a mechanism for reporting from live music gigs, which I'll come on to on the next slide. Really important that if you're doing anything not unusual is the wrong word, but if you're doing anything other than a standard, here's an album, buy it, or here's a single, buy it, download it, stream it, then there are probably rules around that. So if you're bundling any of your releases with merchandise, with tickets, having in stores, out stores, working with record shops to actually perform within the stores and sell your product, there are rules around that. Again, the team are always around to support you in any questions that you might have. And finally, we want to make it very clear the systems identify any unusual sales patterns. So all of our charts, again, for them to be to have the integrity they do and the validation that they do that Lauren's talked us through, they have to be inscrutable, and we have enormous amounts of security software to identify bot farms, multiple streaming, individual users, mass streaming, bulk purchasing, that kind of thing. Anything other than standard sales will be or can be picked up by the system. And once again, any questions at all about anything to do with eligibility, you just need to get in touch with the team. So onto a more slightly lighter more interesting subject. As emerging artists, indie labels, what can you do what levers are available to you to really to allow for your sales to engage to a level that will make the chart, and how can you as an emerging artist punch above your weight. The first thing, which is the key to everything when you're considering any marketing campaign from day one, is understand the audience, understand who's engaging with your music. Is that on, whether that's through social media and the connections, the type of people that are following you, who's turning up to shows, what's the demographic, what's their age range, where are they from, is it a very local a very local crowd, or people traveling, where are you performing most? If you only perform in one, within one county or within London or wherever that is, it's very unlikely that you're going to be wanting to run something campaign that focuses on Newcastle. So it's really important to understand who it is that you're trying to connect to in the first place. What you can then do, and some tactical ways to compete, is then understanding that audience. What are the levers available to you to maximize sales? First of all, if it's a physical audience, if it's an audience that is, if you're doing lots of in-stores, you're working with local record shops, and you know that your fans are buying physical formats, make more of them. Have a black vinyl, coloured vinyl, retailer exclusives. They can be from an HMV exclusive down to Dinked, which is the represent a group of indie stores, or just your one local record, your one local record store. Press up small run of vinyl, just to put, if you're very locally based, press up a small run of vinyl, put it in the local, in just your one local record shop. It's one of the things, if you understand that your audience is local and physically motivated, best thing to do, partner with your local record shop. If they're more digital, then you've got to consider, and what's available to you, different alternate mixes of tracks are all eligible to be combined. So if you're more production dance orientated, then multiple remixes and multiple mixes of those tracks will work really well. If you're a rock act, then acoustic versions of it, slightly different mixes, slightly remixed versions. All of those, if people are engaging with multiple versions of the same song, they all aggregate into one chart position. So, understanding if your audience just want to hear the one standard version, and that's what they're going to want to play on repeat, or do they want to experience more of you as an artist, or more of your artist's repertoire, then rolling out alternate mixes and remixes of those digital versions can have a really really credible impact. Next ones is independent. I keep mentioning I'm very passionate about independent record stores, and as Lauren mentioned with the Record Store Day chart, and all the work we do with Record Store Day. Do partner with make a friend in your local retailer, your local indie retailer. They can support you with events that happen in-house, or indeed outside. If you're putting on gigs, you can tie buying, or you can bundle buying the album at the same time they buy the ticket to the show via that outlet. You must also, going back to the chart rules, you must also always have a ticket only option available. But these are levers you can pull if you're touring in a local area. Then you can partner with a record store to sell the tickets and sell your albums with it. Working out where that is, once again, are you looking at a national tour, therefore reaching out to multiple indie retailers in multiple cities? That's best approached via a distributor. They have all the contacts with record shops across the country. Touched on it before as well, music and merch bundles. If your audience love swag, then sell them a t-shirt at the same time as the album, sell them a hoodie at the same time as the album, sell them a hat at the same time, whatever it is. We've had a lot of Laura mentioned the first drill number one there. I remember that one of the artists doing a bally and an album bundle at the same time. So whatever resonates with your audience, if you understand them first of all, you'll create product that they want, that you can then add album bundles to. make sales at gigs count. I did mention that we do have a way for if you're gigging and touring and selling products on the road, then via official charts you can actually report those sales into the charts. It's a service called Lightning Live. All you have to do is get in contact with us, and it's a very simple form that you need to fill out. On the day that you're actually selling products, you just need to use a EPOS system, which you can get for your mobile phone. You can get them with barcode scanners that link to the mobile phone. Examples are Square, Zettle, SumUp. I'm sure you've all seen them. The kind of like the card payments that a lot of buskers now use as well for tracking that. Those EPOS systems are timestamped sales reports that can be used as evidence sent to the charts that we then manually check them to make sure that yeah, there's nothing unusual. We obviously know the capacity of the venue, number of tickets sold, and then we yeah, then understand what sort of percentage are purchasing on a standard gig. Other levers at your disposal, competitions has worked really well, and I know Lauren's going to show, or Carla's going to go through a few case studies with different artists where at least one of them used an awful lot of competitions and a lot of prizes to engage their audience, because that's what they want to do. It's a really fun and engaging campaign that whilst buying from their D2C store, there were lots of different competitions running and giveaways and various bits and pieces that they worked with. And if your tour and album are not absolutely synced, so Lightning Live is something to use if you're, around the release of an album. If the album release and tour dates are not in sync, then something like a pre-order for pre-sale access. So if you're dropping the album in May but going out on tour in September, then you can run a pre-order for pre-sale access type campaign whereby anyone that buys the album now will get first dibs on those tickets when they go on sale in September. Once again, going backwards to the chart rules, that has to be, you can't make it dependent upon purchase, and there's you have to have a no purchase necessary way of registering for that ticket access as well. But that's what my team are here to advise on. So anything that you want to run, feel free to run it past the team at chart rules at officialcharts.com.
Fabulous. Thank you, Chris. So you now know what the official charts are, why they matter, why you should care about your chart positions. You know what to do to make yourself chart eligible. But now you need to get your music heard. So how do we do that, Carl? Fill it in.
Well, Lauren, I can tell you how we do that. So I'm here to give you a whistle-stop tour of officialcharts.com, which is the consumer-facing side of what we do. And this is, yeah, as Lauren says, the way to get your music promoted, get the word out there. As I say, I feel very lucky to look after the editorial at officialcharts.com, and we just have a huge audience to tap into. As it says here, we're the #1 authority in our field. There are those of the charts that Lauren mentioned earlier, but they ain't got nothing on us, I'm afraid. We are the #1, and yeah, we rank first on Google, which means that it's just a great opportunity to get your face out there, get your music out there, and get it heard. Yeah, we have 2.3 million monthly visits and not 1.3, 133 million annual video views across all of our platforms. So obviously we're on TikTok, we're on X, we're on Facebook, etc. All the favorite places. Now in 2023, we actually relaunched the platform. We thought it was time to have a bit of a glow up and get with the times. So we launched our brand new site, which allows a really immersive, interactive chart experience. As you can see from these screenshots here, it's just a really fun, scrollable experience. We've got the top 100 on there for, well, not the top 100 of all charts, but the top 100 singles and albums chart at least, plus all our other charts, and super immersive. You can listen to clips of the tracks, you can watch the music videos, you can see its entire chart history. It's a lot of fun and it's kind of addictive as well, I will say. We also boast the deepest public chart database ever. This is my favorite part of the site in that it will help me with any pub quiz. Not that I'm cheating, but I will hopefully have the knowledge already. It's the biggest database that exists on the internet. We've got over 50,000 artists available to search from there and over 170,000 songs and albums. What I will say is, yeah, we really encourage you to go and check it out. I would put a couple of hours aside because it is a bit of a rabbit hole and you will just get completely lost in it. I love it. We don't just cover pop on official charts. I think it's kind of a common misconception that we just talk about the pop girlies, but we don't. We're actually seeing such huge uplift in searches for rock acts. I mean, Sleep Token have just had their first #1 album. Obviously, searches for Oasis are way up because they're reuniting. This lovely lady in the middle is called Rory, and she just got her first top 10 album. She's massive in the rock space and was super happy to receive one of those awards, which we'll talk about in a minute. And yeah, Jack Black has kind of taken over recently with his Minecraft movie track, Steve's Lava Chicken, which was one of our most searched for songs of the past couple of months. And fun fact, it's actually the shortest song ever to reach the top 40 in the UK and in the US, actually. This is a brief outline of our kind of key editorial moments throughout the year. We kick things off with our end of year charts from the previous year, straight into Brit season. Then we've got loads of fun activity around Record Store Day. Obviously, we've just had Eurovision, which was, I don't know if anyone watched it. It was typically crazy and manic, but it was brilliant. Straight into festival season, all the way into Christmas #1 season, which is I think and always will be our biggest time of year in terms of media traction and general interest from public, I suppose. Now, this is probably the most important part, and this is that we really do champion new music at official charts. So I thought I'd talk you through some of the ways in which we do that and ways in which you can reach out to us. Every week we publish our New Music Friday new releases list. It's the internet's most comprehensive list of new releases. And whether you're signed or unsigned, feel free. I've put my email address here, carl@officialcharts.com. If you can send me your registered release and artist name, we can hopefully get it featured in that piece. Loads of eyes on it every single week from the industry as well as the public. And the important thing here is that you don't actually have to have charted to be included, which is a great way to get your name out there. For brand new artists, well, all artists, but especially, new artists like here we've got Sky Newman, who was just blown up recently. We can create a dedicated artist page for anybody who is charted on any of our charts. That will include an artist bio, chart history, and we can optimize that with a press shot. These rank so well on Google. Again, just a great way to get your name out there. Couple of quick tips. Again, feel free to send over any assets to myself. Give us a fancy cleared press shot, not even press shot, just any shot that's copyright free, essentially. And I guess the top tip is to kind of keep your artist bio evergreen. So we don't need your follow accounts necessarily or any kind of sales numbers or chart specifics. Just keep it super evergreen. Other ways in which we champion new music, we have our one to watch feature, which, I mean, we've kind of covered the likes of, in the past few months, we've covered the likes of Miles Smith, Raven Lenae, who's doing massive things on the chart at the moment. And this is essentially the rising stars that are just starting to impact the official charts. On any of our charts, it doesn't necessarily have to be the top 100. Again, major label or independent, we're open to anything, to be honest. First listen pieces do super well for us. We're lucky to have secured those with huge and kind of smaller scale artists alike. And these are backed by cross-platform promotion. So we'll post those across Instagram, TikTok, obviously officialcharts.com. Then we also have the trending chart, which is the top 20 tracks of the week that are on an upward trajectory, but haven't actually hit the top 10 on the singles chart yet. Again, all genres, major label or independent. And then when you're winning, this is potentially my favorite part of the whole job, is handing out the plethora of awards that we have. So obviously on here, we've got the likes of Taylor Swift and we've got current #1, Alex Warren. But then we've also got these dudes in the bottom right hand corner called Trampoline. They hit number one. They've had two number one albums on the Independent Breakers album chart. So that's them with their specialist award. This dude down here is called Malachi, and he was number one on the classical albums chart at 14 years old, which is incredible. So yeah, we've doesn't it's not all about the fancy gold and silver awards. We also have a range of awards to cover, yeah, our 50 charts that we have. And if you think you might have been eligible for one, whether it be as a songwriter or artist, details are here for you to get in touch with us and find out if you have been deemed eligible. And yeah, there we go.
Well, thank you very much, Carl. And as well as all those editorial and PR opportunities that we've taken you through so far, we also do offer ways to build your profile through booked campaigns too. We have an audience of multi-channel music fans, as we call them. They're both really heavy streamers and heavy spenders too on physical music. They spend nearly 30 quid a month on music, in fact, and they're 5.5 times more likely to be vinyl buyers too. Plus, we know they come to official charts with their eyes and ears open for new music as well. So we have a range of advertising and branded content options as well. So if you're an artist on the rise, or perhaps you're a more established act, but you're bringing out new music, or maybe you are an artist that's been away for a little while and you want to remind audiences of your previous chart success, we can help with all those kind of things. We're quite a unique media outlet in that respect. We can mine the data that we have to unearth interesting angles that can help you define your positioning as an artist, no matter what stage of your career you're at. And we can pop your story to life through creating content and social activity, all with the weight of the official charts brand behind you. So if any of that kind of thing could also be of interest to you as a layer within your campaign and your career strategy, again, as the lads have said, just get in touch with us on email. It's commercial@officialcharts.com for that kind of thing. We have got a slide at the end that's got all the contact details for everything that we've gone through today. So you can screenshot to your heart's content at the end. We are almost there, to be honest. And we just thought we'd wrap up with a couple of artist case studies that bring to life everything we've kind of gone through today. We've selected two artists for this who we believe are both completely killing it right now. They are, each of them, they're in their own lane. They've achieved some amazing things. And also they've done it with a bit of a kind of independent grassroots spirit to it as well. So that we thought they were particularly relevant to talk through with the youth music community. And the first one up, I'm sure comes as no surprise. Ezra Collective, they are one of your own, I believe. A London jazz quartet. They came up through the youth music community. They formed back in 2012 at Tomorrow's Warriors Jazz Youth Programme at the South Bank Centre. They got together, did their thing. And then in 2019, they started to get tastemaker pickup through the likes of Annie Mac being featured as an Annie Mac's hottest record. And they released their debut album that year, which is called You Can't Steal My Joy. And again, full transparency on the numbers, because I think that's really helpful when you're in the early stages of your career and trying to work out what that potential growth trajectory could look like for you, especially if you're a kind of niche act like Ezra Collective as well. So their debut album in week one did 1,550 units. And that actually did make it into the official albums chart top 100. It charted at number 70. But as I say, specialist charts are a stepping stone. And in the specialist charts with that release, they got to number one on the Jazz and Blues albums chart. And they got a number one on the independent album Breakers chart too. And if you're just starting out as an independent artist, the Breakers charts are a really good place to keep an eye on. We have one for singles and one for albums. Essentially, they rank the biggest independently released albums of the week by an artist who's not yet reached the top 40. So, yeah, great place to start. And the kind of numbers that you need to do to get into that chart and into the Breakers chart are completely achievable as well. In 2020, Ezra Collective received funding from Youth Music's Incubator Fund. That's a fund that provides grants of up to £30,000 to help underrepresented 18 to 25-year-olds access careers in the music industry. And it was a great springboard for them into their next album campaign, which came along in 2022 and changed everything for them. That album, Where I'm Meant to Be, Week one for that album, they managed to double what they did in week one with their debut album. They did 3,300 units. This is all UK data, of course, by the way. They did 3,300 units of that album week one, and that got them a top 40, their first top 40 placing on the official albums chart. And they got themselves a Mercury Prize nomination. And the following year, they became the first jazz act to win the Mercury Music Prize in the prize's 31-year history. Fast forward to 2024, and it's just continued at pace. We featured them as an official chart one to watch in 2024, leading into their album release that year. Dance No One's Watching, and that album's called, and that gave them the first top 10 album of their career. And more importantly than that, a brand new personal best by a country mile, and they managed to triple what they did with the previous album and did 10K in the first week of release for that one. And it's continued from there. You know, the runners up on the BBC Sound Off poll this year. They won Group of the Year at the Brits as well and closed the whole show. So Ezra Collective, really inspiring case study of an artist with just this incredible growth trajectory over the last couple of years. So traveling a couple hundred miles up north for this next artist case study, this is the Lottery Winners. You may have heard of them, you also may have not, and that's perfectly fine as well, because they are an indie pop band from a small town called Lee in the northwest, near my hometown. It's near Greater Manchester, and they formed in 2008, and they began gigging around pubs and working men's clubs just locally, self-releasing singles. And it wasn't until 2019 they were discovered at a live showcase by a guy called Seymour Stein, who famously discovered Madonna. And he helped get the Lottery Winners signed to Modern Sky, who they're still with today. And in the early stages of their career, they very much focused on getting themselves support slots. They wanted to get in front of sort of loyal fans who go to gigs and follow their favorite bands like they would follow a football club. So they got support slots with the likes of Catfish and the Bottlemen, Paul Weller, Libertines, Madness, Shed 7, bands of that nature. And in that set them up really well for 2020. So coming into lockdown, they released their debut album, and they actually managed to get a top 40 with straight away with their debut. And they're a band. What we've certainly seen in the data is they're a band that sells really well physically, and that's very much at the heart of the campaigns that they craft. And it really shows in their specialist chart successes as well. That debut album got top 10 on the official vinyl chart, the physical albums chart, the sales chart, the independent chart. So it was a really solid start for them as a band. But 2023 was when they really stepped it up. They're actually they're one of the artists out there who also subscribe directly to our official charts data. They're a customer of ours as well as a band in the charts, and they use that data that they have access to really craft an effective strategy, release strategy, and it's been really working for them. So 2023 was the year that they partnered with Virgin Music with a distribution deal. They released Anxiety Replacement Therapy through that partnership. And on the track list for that album, they had collaborations with Boy George, Shaun Ryder, Frank Turner as well. So just from the kind of the content of the album itself, they had all those amazing like cross-pollination opportunities built into the track list of the album to get in front of all those extra fan bases. And also another key tactic apparently for this campaign was that Tom, the frontman, told us he manifested a number one with this album because he turned his phone wallpaper, his background screen of his phone, into a picture of the number one award a few months out from the release of that album. And they got their first number one album. So we can't we can't verify the science behind that and whether it's worked, but you know what? It worked for Tom. So give it a try, see what happens. That would be our advice in this area. And it's just continued at pace for them ever since. 2025, they've just released their follow-up album called Coco. For that album release, they set up an experiential space up in Spinners Mill in Lee. That was basically a pop-up shop that they ran in conjunction with a couple of indie record shops. They partnered with Wax and Beans, which is a record shop in Bury in Manchester, and Pie and Vinyl, which is another record shop down south in Southsea. It was kind of like a live performance space. They ran sign-ins, they ran fan hangouts, they had loads of different variants of their album and merch available. And it was super effective, it helped them rally that cult local fan base that they've built over all that time that they've been together as a band. And they managed to bag themselves a second #1 album in the space of 2 years with that strategy that they've pulled the data together, built out a strategy, and bang, it's worked like yeah, nobody's business for them. And that week, in week one, 85% of their total that week was powered by physical sales as well. So you can just see how it can work for you in terms of propelling your chart placement. And they've got a massive summer ahead of them as well. They're off on tour with Robbie Williams on his stadium tour again, which will open them up to a whole other level of audience. So yeah, we're expecting big things from those guys as a local band. And that's pretty much it, really. So very well, we've thrown loads of information at you, blinding you with official chart tips and tricks. And we've thrown loads of data and numbers and stats and facts as well at you. So if you are interested in the kind of data side of what we do, and you want to understand how that could potentially support you and your career or your music business, if you're sort of an independent label or what have you, this is the data system that produces all that information that we've shared with you today. So we have a team who can give you demos of it as well. And again, as we've been saying all along, just get in touch. The email address is down there at the bottom, commercial@officialcharts.com, and we can show you how you can use that data to create your strategies and competitor insights. And that's all from Official Charts. Here's a screen. If you want to screenshot away, feel free to do that. This has got all our contact details from Carl's contact details to talk about editorial opportunities. If you've got any chart registration queries, quandaries, just get in touch with Chris's team, the operations team at chartrules@officialcharts.com. If you're interested in any of our awards and the opportunities that sit around that, or whether to find out whether you're eligible for them, just email #1award@officialcharts.com. I'm Lauren. I look after all the press and marketing as well for the chart. So if you've got any queries around that kind of thing, you can get in touch with me. And the data side of things, data subscriptions are handled by our commercial team.